don't know anything about rematch. You know, I'm champ of the world. I'll fight any man.
By August 1987, the heavyweight division did not just respect Mike Tyson, it feared him.
Right hand. Tucker says, no, I'm not hurt.
The entire boxing landscape was paralyzed by a 21-year-old wrecking ball who treated professional prize fighting like an absolute demolition job.
Right hand, right above it, of Mike Tyson.
Tyson was already holding the WBA and WBC heavyweight titles, leaving a trail of broken, unconscious contenders in his wake. Yet, the heavyweight crown remained fractured. The IBF title belonged to someone else, a towering, undefeated enigma who refused to buy into the myth of Iron Mike's invincibility. His name was Tony Tucker.
That was a good left hand, and that staggered Tony Tucker. There you see Tucker backing up, catching.
August 1st, 1987, the Hilton Hotel in Las Vegas became the epicenter of the sporting world. This was not just another high-profile title defense. This was champion versus champion, undefeated versus undefeated.
In this last fight, we did see the cream, Tyson, obviously the best heavyweight in the world right now.
High-stakes unification tournament final, where the winner would leave as the first undisputed heavyweight champion of the world since Leon Spinks. The line from the iconic movie Full Metal Jacket perfectly captured the atmosphere of that hot summer night. You can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? Tony Tucker was an unknown terror to the casual sports public.
There was a left hook there. That was a right hand by Tucker, not a bad shot.
While he was largely untested against the absolute elite, he remained completely unbeaten against ordinary opposition, possessing a pristine record and a psychological resilience that no one expected. He had never been knocked down in his entire career. He was big, tall, exceptionally mobile, and carried himself with an erratic, dangerous confidence. As the two men made their way to the ring, the stark contrast between them became impossible to ignore. Tyson was the personification of grim, relentless violence, stripped down to plain black trunks, no robe, looking ready to execute a contract. Tucker walked in, smiling, waving to the crowd, completely loose and ready to orchestrate the biggest upset in boxing history. When the referee called both champions to the center of the ring for final instructions, the sheer physical scale of the challenge ahead for Mike Tyson became immediately apparent. Tucker stood at a commanding 6 feet 5 inches tall, possessing a massive, sweeping 82-inch reach. For Tyson, who stood at a compact 5 feet 10 inches, this was a massive tactical deficit. Tyson had rarely dealt with a fighter who not only towered over him by 7 inches, but also knew exactly how to use that height to establish a defensive fortress. Tyson's legendary success relied entirely on his peekaboo defense, a system taught by Cus D'Amato where a fighter keeps his gloves locked tightly to his cheeks, constantly bobbing, weaving, and slipping his head from side to side to close the distance.
Tyson, the first time we've ever seen Tyson really rock back like that.
The peekaboo defense allows a shorter fighter to slip past a standard jab and explode inside with devastating hooks and uppercuts. However, the system requires immense energy and perfect timing. If an opponent can establish a relentless, lightning-fast jab from a high angle, they can effectively blind the incoming fighter, disrupting their head movement and forcing them to reset their feet.
But I think what Tucker saw and Tyson was the uppercut. Another right hand.
This was exactly what Tony Tucker planned to do. He wasn't there to survive. He was there to fire jabs straight through Tyson's infamous defensive shield and keep the predator at bay.
And we see Tucker appeared to be as loose throughout most.
The opening bell rang, and Tony Tucker immediately went to work, executing his strategy with beautiful precision. Instead of backing away in fear or freezing under the intense forward march of Tyson, Tucker utilized the entire perimeter of the ring. He refused to stand still long enough for Tyson to settle into a rhythm. He fought strictly behind a snapping, piston-like left jab, catching Tyson on the way in with his incredibly long arms. Then, just moments into the very first round, the unthinkable happened.
Pick him off and attack him. You know what I'm saying, baby? Yeah. He's ready for you now.
Tyson looks right now like he's in it for the long haul here. And there was a big right hand. Tucker says, no, I'm not hurt. I've always found that to mean I'm hurt. That right hand landed because and paid the price.
Tucker timed a dipping Tyson perfectly, launching a tremendous looping left uppercut that caught Tyson cleanly on the chin. The impact was seismic. For the first time in Mike Tyson's professional career, the world watched the terrifying champion actually rock back on his heels. His head snapped back violently, his balance was momentarily compromised, and a collective gasp echoed through the Las Vegas Hilton.
Wanted Tyson to move his head. That's something, Ray, you pointed out about 5 rounds ago. Yes, you have to move that head in order to get inside and not be so stationary. Big left hand, but again, Tucker takes his head and goes back.
It was arguably the single cleanest, most powerful shot Mike Tyson had ever taken up to that point in his life. Instead of panic, the moment brought clarity. Tucker did not let up, continuing to put 3 and 4 punches together, following up with crisp left hooks and looping rights. Late in the round, Tyson finally managed to cut the distance, landing a thudding, compact shot on the inside that briefly caught Tucker's attention. But the Giant responded with veteran composure, tying Tyson up, clearing his head, and moving right back out to the center of the canvas. The opening frame belonged to Tony Tucker, and the narrative of the unstoppable Iron Mike had been shattered in less than 3 minutes.
And so is Tucker. Great finish to a pretty entertaining evening.
As the match moved into the second and third rounds, Tucker continued to find success at range. He fired his jab with authority, forcing Tyson to constantly reset his feet and look for new angles of entry. Every time Tyson attempted to explode forward, Tucker's long arms were there to disrupt the momentum. Tucker was putting together beautiful combinations, landing lefts and rights that kept the WBA and WBC champion off balance.
What happened then was the best thing. Another right hand. And another right hand by Tucker.
However, fighting Mike Tyson requires flawless execution for every single second of a 12-round fight. And by the third round, the spatial dynamics inside the ring began to subtly shift. Tyson's corner was entirely aware of the danger. They told him firmly that a single looping knockout blow was not going to get the job done against a boxer as skilled as Tucker.
In the first round actually can turn the tables around and fight him. Tucker, in fact, he formed 1, 2, 3. He's using his height, his reach.
Tyson needed to build a rhythm, layer his pressure, and work his way inside systematically. Little by little, Tyson began to find his timing. He started slipping just underneath Tucker's jabs rather than letting them hit his gloves. The space between the two undefeated monsters began to shrink faster and faster.
Fox, he's telling him the jab to get inside. Well, that was a good example. That uppercut was going into the face of Tony Tucker.
Tyson wasn't wasting a single movement. Every slip, every slide, and every step was calculated to trap Tucker closer to the ropes, taking away the Giant's running room. Even when Tucker landed a sharp right hand, Tyson would instantly slip the follow-up and step closer, his eyes completely locked onto his target.
That was a good left hand. Frustration.
By the fourth and fifth rounds, the intensity reached a boiling point. Round 5 in particular became a technical masterclass from Tony Tucker. His hand speed was phenomenal for a man of his size, flashing quick combinations and showing a level of defensive responsibility that kept Tyson searching for answers. Yet the physical reality of Tyson's relentless forward pressure was beginning to wear on the IBF champion. Even when Tucker scored with clean shots, Tyson refused to alter his trajectory, moving forward like an unstoppable machine. Then came the middle rounds, where Tyson's commitment to bodywork became the defining factor of the entire unification fight.
I think that was a right hand by Tyson. You can understand now, Ray, why Michael...
Tyson began shifting his level, burying brutal hooks into Tucker's ribs and midsection. Pushing a heavily muscled, compact fighter off you expends immense physical energy, and Tucker was being forced to wrestle and hold Tyson off during every single inside exchange. It was during this brutal mid-fight stretch that a quiet tragedy unfolded in Tucker's corner. Rumors had been circulating in Las Vegas boxing circles during the days leading up to the fight that Tucker had entered the bout with a hairline fracture in his right hand.
Tyson, of course, a banger. And we see Tucker appeared to be as loose throughout most.
Early in the match, that injury aggravated significantly. A severe knot formed in his hand, leaving him practically one-handed against the most ferocious puncher on the planet. Despite the immense physical agony, Tucker refused to break. Instead, he relied on pure illusion and psychological warfare. When Tyson landed a massive right hand that sent sweat flying into the ringside seats, Tucker simply mugged for the cameras, shook his head, and smiled directly into Tyson's face, screaming that he wasn't hurt.
And not very susceptible to the uppercuts. Get him up! Both of them! That was a big left hand because...
This showboating brought the crowd to life, but underneath the bravado, the giant was growing deeply uncomfortable. As the fight moved past the 8th round, the sheer psychological weight of Tyson's pressure began to break down Tucker's defensive framework. History had shown that a lot of elite heavyweights had already broken completely under this exact brand of psychological and physical torment. Tyson's momentum was now glaringly obvious to everyone in the arena. His head movement was fluid, his pressure was calculated, and his timing was perfectly synced up with Tucker's tiring movements. For the first time in the entire contest, Tucker looked genuinely fatigued. His movement slowed from an elite floating box and move strategy into a desperate, heavy-footed survival dance.
Just check out Tony Tucker.
Tyson was walking through everything Tucker threw, countering with looping right hands and thudding body blows. Yet even when Tucker avoided the catastrophic knockout blow that Tyson was hunting for, he had to survive the suffocating pressure every single second of every single minute. Tyson's head movement allowed him to get inside cleanly without absorbing damage, leaving Tucker with no answers at long range. By the time the 10th round concluded, both fighters were visibly exhausted, their chests heaving as they sat on their stools. But Tyson still looked significantly fresher, his eyes entirely clear, while Tucker was fighting strictly on heart, pride, and survival instincts. When the bell rang for the 12th and final round, the narrative was clear. Every round had now become Tyson's fight to lose, and Tucker desperately needed something dramatic to salvage his undefeated record and his IBF title. The crowd was on its feet, roaring in appreciation for the incredible display of heart and skill both men had put forward. Tucker came out for the final 3 minutes, trying to box intelligently, throwing his jab one last time to keep the predator at bay. He was fighting the kind of fight where, in his own mind, he believed he was doing enough to win. But Tyson was determined to close the show in dominant fashion.